Hey guys, Mr. Middleton here. Today we're going to talk about solving equations. At the end of this video you should be able to solve equations with variables on one side of the equal sign, and you should be able to use the distributive property to solve equations. Alright, so let's talk about solving equations. You guys have done this before, but it's a very important part of this course, and so we'll make sure that we have it all established before we get really into it. Okay, to solve an equation, you need to isolate the variable, which means you need to get a variable on a side by itself, on one side of the equal sign. Okay, to do this you have to move the numbers on the same side of the equal sign to the other side by using the inverse operation. Okay, when you think of inverse, think of the opposite. Okay, so you can call the inverse operation or the opposite operation. So if there's addition, the inverse would be subtraction. If there's multiplication, the inverse would be division. So let's look at a few examples. Our first example, we have x plus 6 equals 11. We're solving this by getting x on the side by itself. We see what's stopping x from being by itself. It's the 6. What is 6 doing? It's adding. And so what we'll do is we will subtract the inverse operation. Okay. And so when we do that, we get x equals, this now is gone, 11 minus 6, which is 5. Number 2, a little bit more tricky. Trying to get x by itself, so we have to ask what's stopping it. Now there's an order that we have to follow. I won't call it order of operations. It's kind of the doing it backwards, doing order of operations backwards. So we would try to find addition and subtraction first, then multiplication and division, then exponents, then parentheses if it got down to it. So for this problem, I'm going to look at this 3. I'm going to get rid of this 3 first. Okay, even though there's no sign in front of here, if there's no sign written, we understand that there's a positive, there's a plus. Okay, it's assumed positive. So in order to get rid of this 3, we have to do the inverse. And that's going to be just subtract 3 from both sides. That will leave us with negative 4x equals negative 20. Negative 17 minus 3. And then to get x all the way by itself, negative 4 is multiplying x. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 4. And that will give us x equals positive 5. Okay, number 3. I'm trying to find x 2/3 x plus 7 equals 13. So in this case, we're going to work with the addition and subtraction first. I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. And when I do that, I get 2/3 x equals 6. And to get x all the way by itself, I need to divide by 2/3. Okay, because 2/3 is now multiplying x. So to divide by a fraction, remember, means that we're going to multiply by its reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3/2. Okay, and so what that does on this side is just makes it 1x, which is good because we want to get x by itself. Multiplying by 1 is by itself. And then if I multiply here, I have 6 times 3, which is 18. 2 times 1, which is 2. 18 divided by 2, which is 9. So x equals 9 is my final answer. Okay, that's solving equations. Hopefully you guys are pretty accustomed to that. If not, we'll get some practice with that in the next few days as well. We've got to make sure that we're get back on that, because that's, again, a really important part of this course. We'll need to have that foundation set for you to be successful. Okay, another thing you might be familiar with is the distributive property. Now the distributive property does exactly what it says to do. We're distributing the number to the on the outside of parentheses to the terms inside. So it says use the distributive property to simplify the expression. We have number 1 is 4 times x plus 3. Okay, and so what we do is we distribute this 4 to both terms inside. and we'll multiply. So 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 3 is 12. Number 2, we have 5 plus 2 times 3x minus 1. So this is where order of operations will come into play. Remember that we will want to multiply before we do addition. And so we're going to distribute this 2 to the terms inside. Okay, that's the multiplication. If we could simplify inside the parentheses first, we would, but there's no like terms to add together, so we can't. So once I distribute this 2, I get 6x minus 2. And then this is 5 here. And so then I'd add my like terms. 5 minus 2 will give me 3. So I have 6x and positive 3, so plus 3. Finally, number 3 here, we have 12 minus 3x, minus 3 times the quantity x minus 2. Okay. So now I'm going to be distributing, I'm going to distribute this negative 3 to both terms inside here. Okay, it's really important that we always remember to check the sign in front of the number when distributing. Okay, because if we don't, if we do, it makes it a lot easier for us to remember to just change the signs as necessary. So we have 12, that stays the same, we're not distributing anything there. Negative 3 times x, which is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 2, which is positive 6. So we have 12 minus 3x plus 6, which will give us negative 3x plus 18. Okay, so they're simplifying by using the distributive property. Okay, we'll use the distributive property to solve equations as well. So we'll see that down here at the bottom. Number 1, in this set of examples, set of practice problems, we have 4 times x minus 5 equals 16. Now, a couple ways that we can handle this. I'll show, well, one way on this side. So, first thing, remember we're trying to get x by itself. We want to get everything away from x. So for this problem, we could, at the start of this, say, okay, we're multiplying by 4 on this side, but I eventually want to get rid of that 4. Why don't I just divide both sides by 4? So I have x minus 5, and actually, since that's the only thing on the side, I don't need parentheses, equals 4. To get x all the way by itself, I can add 5 to both sides, and I'll get x equals 9. We could always plug it in to see if it works out. Now this is a step that I will say is going to be helpful for you, but not a step that I'm requiring you to do. Okay? You check your work. If you have time to check your work, it's a luxury. Make sure you do it. Okay? So if we plug in 9, 9 minus 5 is 4, 4 times 4 is 16, it works. We know that we did our job. Okay? I want you to do number 2 for me, please. Okay, number 3, I'm going to show you the other way. Do number 2, bring it in, complete it, so I can make sure you did your notes, paid attention, and I can gauge your mastery of it. So, number 3, I told you there's a couple ways that we can do this. Here, we just divided by 4, got rid of the distribution at the beginning. We could also do that for 3, but I'm going to show you what can happen if we distribute as well. So if we distribute 3/4 to this side, and we do that instead of just dividing both sides by 3/4, then what we could get, 3 times the 12 is 36, 36 over 4 is 9, get 9x, plus 3 times 8 is 24, 24 divided by 4 is 6. Okay, so we have now distributed to this side and got rid of the parentheses and got, I'll say we used the fraction, and now we have an equation just like what we had up here, just a two-step equation that we can deal with. So now we can just divide both sides, or sorry, not divide, subtract 6 from both sides. We'll have 18 equals 9x. To get x all the way by itself, we'll divide by 9 on both sides. And so when we divide by 9 on both sides, we get x equals 2. Okay. Then number 4, look at a couple things we can do on this side. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this problem, and at the beginning of the problem, just use my order of operations to simplify this. I want to distribute negative 3 to both terms here. So I have 6 minus 3x minus 21 equals 18. Okay, and I got that because remember this is negative 3 that I'm distributing to both of these. So then I add my like terms together. I have negative 3x, 6 minus 21 will be negative 15 equals 18. To get x by itself, I'm going to add 15 to both sides. And I get negative 3x equals 33. And then divide by negative 3. And so when I do that, I'll get x equals negative 11. Alright, so there we go. It's a multiple step problems, really just distributing. Using distribution to solve problems. Alright, another tool that we can use to solve equations is to combine like terms. Okay, to do this you put together all the terms that have the same variable. You simply add or subtract the numbers. Okay, anything that's alike, that means that they have to have the same variable to the same power. And so if we look at this first problem, we have 5x minus 4 plus 3x plus 10 equals 22. And so as I look, I see, okay, we have 5x and 3x. Those are like terms. Okay, I underline them to mark to myself that they are like terms. Okay, I have negative 4 and positive 10. Those are like terms. Okay, they're both just numbers. And so what I can do now is I can just combine those. I have 8x plus 6 equals 22. Now notice how we are not moving anything to the other side of the equal sign until all the like terms are put together. See, this first step was just me saying, okay, these are alike. Let me make sure I put them together. These are alike. Let me make sure I put them together. Okay, nothing changed sides. Okay, and because they didn't change sides, we didn't have to do any inverse operations. Okay, and so now I would be able to just solve this equation, 8x plus 6 equals 22. Okay, same equation, same thing, just different look. Okay, I'm going to have you do the first one and bring that in with these completed notes. And then I'll do the second one here. So we have 5x minus 3x, minus 3 times the quantity x minus 8. So I have 5x. I'm going to distribute this negative 3. So I have negative 3x plus 24, because negative times negative is positive, equals 4. 5x minus 3x gives us 2x plus 24 equals 40. I will then subtract 24 from both sides. Gives me 2x equals 16. And then divide by 2 on each side. And that way we get rid of that final thing stopping x from being by itself, and I'll get x equals 8. Okay, so notice your work should be such that you can look back and say, okay, how did I get from one step to another? How did I get here? How did I get here? Okay, and that way you can check your work, and you can explain your work to other people if you feel like you understand what's happening. You can help them as well. Alright, so another thing that comes with solving equations is word problems or application problems. Okay, a lot of people kind of moan and groan at these, but if there were no application problems, there wouldn't really be a need for math anyway. Because why would you do math if you couldn't solve real world problems with it? So let's look at some problems that will help us get to those real world problems. We are going to make sure that we understand what the variables mean, and then we're going to set up the problems and solve them. Okay, so number one, it says together you and your puppy weigh 128 pounds. You alone weigh 115 pounds. How much does your puppy weigh? So here it goes. Me and my puppy. Okay, so M plus P equals 128 pounds. If this was all the information that we got, we really wouldn't be able to do anything with it as far as solving this problem. But the problem goes on to say that I weigh 115 pounds. Me, 115. Still doesn't tell me about the puppy, and actually that's what it's asking me to find. So I can solve this now just by saying, okay, I have an equation. I want to get P by itself, or my puppy's weight by itself. So I subtract 115 pounds from both sides, and I found out the puppy is 13 pounds. Okay, now I should ask myself, does this make sense as an answer? Yeah, it makes sense as an answer. Now if I found that my puppy was 60 pounds, and I'd say, I don't know if I know any 60-pound puppies. Let me make sure I'm doing my work right. Okay, but 13 makes sense. Alright, number two. 3 less than double the mystery number is 23. What is the mystery number? So 3 less than double. Okay, remember that a lot of people have the tendency to say, okay, 3, write 3. Less than, write minus. Double, write 2 times something. Equals 23. This would be wrong in this case. Okay? Remember, especially with subtraction, we have to think a little bit more carefully. 3 less than double means we're taking 3 away from something. So we have to set it up as double a mystery number, which I'm just going to put N for number, minus 3. This is 3 less than double a number. Is 23. And so now I have my equation. 2n minus 3 equals 23. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. Okay, and then that gives me 2n equals 26. I'll divide by 2. And that will give me n equals 13. So my mystery number is 13. Now I love this question, and I'm going to say it now because it's the most ridiculous now. The question of, whenever we do this, is the answer going to be 13? No, I know it did happen two times in a row. It will not always be 13. Okay, and that goes with most situations. If the answer is always going to be 10 or 5 or 8, or you're always going to get a fraction, I'll tell you, you're always going to get a fraction with this. Okay, but these are just coincidences that both answers came out to be 13. Alright. Last problem we have here says you order magazines from Amazon.com. Each magazine costs $5.75. The shipping charge is $2. If you have a $25 gift card, how many magazines can you buy? Okay, if you're not going to spend any other money. So here we go. We know that magazines cost $5.75. So here's what we can do. Okay, in order to pay our money, right, we know we have $25. That's as much as we want to spend. Each magazine costs $5.75. So for what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, the cost of a magazine is $5.75. We don't know how many magazines we're going to order. So I'm going to put a variable there. $5.75 times M. Okay, the number of magazines. And then, in order to get my magazines home, I need to pay a shipping charge of $2. decimal there. Okay. Alright, and so now here's my equation. Well, the shipping charge, remember, will only happen once, so I don't need to use any variables or anything with that. The reason I have to use a variable with the 575 is because it happens for every magazine that I order. So now I have my equation, and then I can solve to find out how many magazines I could buy. Okay, so now let's do that. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. I'll get 23 equals $5.75 times M. And to find out what M is, I'm going to have to use my calculator. Divided by 5.75. Oh, that gives me 4. Okay. So how many magazines can I order? 4. Okay, quick question. What if they said I could order 4.1 magazines? What if the number was 24? What if I did 24 divided by 5.75? We said I could order 4.17. How should I answer this question? Okay, I know it didn't just happen here, but if in a situation where I get a decimal like this, the answer would still be 4 magazines. I would still only be able to order 4 magazines. Amazon, like most other retailers, will not sell you a fraction of a product. Okay, and so we have to make sure that our answers make sense. Just like in the puppy problem, it would make sense that our puppy is 13 pounds. Okay, it wouldn't make sense if our puppy was 170 pounds. Okay, in this problem, it wouldn't make sense if we ordered 4.17 magazines. Okay, that should cause us to go back and check to make sure we did everything correctly. Alright, so that's kind of your intro, a few things that I really expect you to be able to do, but want to make sure we walk through at the beginning of this year, especially since it's such an important part of this unit. Alright, see you guys.